Levy right now plays in a closed round-robin tournament in New York City, and this is his fourth tournament after the return to competitive chess, pursuing the GM title. It's not a easy road, it's a very long road, and today he played round 2 of this closed round-robin tournament against a young talent from the United States, James Chirillov. So I would like to walk through some of the key moments in the game and what was our prep for the game. So we expected that Chirillov is going to play d4 because he really likes this particular system. And after the Caro-Kann after d5, we didn't really expect that James is going to play f3 because he apparently really likes the fantasy variation. We had noticed that online, the young American likes to play e5, so this was the primary focus in the game preparation. So Levy decided to play bishop f5 and meet h4 with a very rare move a6. Now, the idea of h4 is that black cannot play e6 and c5 because, for example, after e6, white just plays g4 and simply traps the bishop, so you cannot do that. So it's a very trendy move, and black normally plays h5 to stop this advancement. Then after bishop d3, white is slightly pushing. So that's why we had decided that we are going to play this ambitious move a6 with the idea to play c5 and knight c6, sacrifice the pawn, and in some lines, white doesn't have access to bishop b5 check. So here h5 was played. This is the best move, I think. So far, the young American was still within his prep. Levy now played c5, and after d takes, knight c6, immediately applied pressure against the pawn on e5. As you can see, a6 is an important move because it doesn't allow white to play bishop b5 and pin the knight on c6. Now, the main move here in this position was bishop d3, and this is something we expected, but here Chirillov played knight f3, protecting the pawn. So here Levy played e6, which is a normal developing move, threatening to take the pawn on c5, and also notice that white no longer is threatened to play g4 because the queen on d1 no longer guards this square. So bishop e3 was played, white protected the pawn on c5. Levy very quickly played bishop g4, applying some pressure against the pawn on e5. And here after c3, I think he made a mistake. A strategic mistake, because maybe there's nothing wrong with the move itself, knight e5, but I think he missed an opportunity to create a lot of practical problems for white. He had to continue with knight h6, which is a very typical move in the Caro-Kann, threatened to play knight f5, try to hit the bishop on e3 and create a lot of unbalances. And if white will play, for example, bishop takes on h6, g takes on h6, white's pawns are not going to hold together, and black has a lot of dynamics and most likely will regain the sacrificed pawn with a lot of more activity. So what happened is that Levy played knight e5, and I think what contributed to this choice was his game in Spilimbergo Open, the tournament he played a couple of weeks ago in Italy. And this essentially was the game repeat against the young Polish player Livia Jarocka. So here the position was pretty similar. Jarocka had a pawn on h2, but still essentially the same idea. White gonna take on e5, the queen is under attack, and after queen a4 check, black always gets queen d7, and again, everything is sort of protected, queen d7, knight e7, and black is actually pretty much fine. So after knight e5, knight e2, what I don't like about this choice is that suddenly white has a very concrete game instead of knight h6, when he would have to make a lot of tough choices. So now Levy played knight f6, hitting the pawn on h5. So h6, this was a pretty smart move. I think that Levy was expecting mainly queen a4 and meet it again with queen d7. Again, knight on e5 cannot be taken, the queen is under attack. But now there's a difference. After h6, g takes on h6, now white plays queen a4, and unfortunately black can no longer play queen d7, because after queen e4, the center starts to be really shaky, and actually black just loses material on the spot, meaning knight f3 check, g takes on f3, and two black pieces are left under attack. So Levy couldn't do that, and that's why he had to play knight e7, knight e5 was played, bishop f5. What I quite did not like what Levy was doing in this game is that, again, he was spending a bit too much time on simpler decisions. Like, I think here he spent too much time considering about move h5. Bishop f5 just felt way more natural. The pawn on h6 doesn't really feel to be important in this game. And also, bishop takes on h6. Levy can always grab the pawn on c5 and then close this queen with the move b5. So g4 was played, and this is where Levy found a very beautiful shot, basically echoing one of the ideas what happened in this aforementioned game against Olivia Yarotska. So the point is, after queen takes on c2, now he can take on e5, eliminate the annoying white knight on e5, and simply call all the shots. So white here got to be a bit aggressive and play a long castle. For some reason here James decided to play f3, very slow move. The pawn on g4 doesn't really matter, and now after queen c7, white already has no choice. The pawn on c5 is under attack, and white has to play b4. The point is, there's no more knight b3, because now the pawn on f3 is simply left under attack. So after b4, Levy felt that since white wants a castle long, he has to open up the queen side. This is a great move, I really liked it. Now after queen a4 check, black cannot play queen d7, there's going to be bishop b5 check. Same problems after knight c6, white is just pushing forward b5, so this is the strictly only move, and long castle. So the game was really heating up, as you can see. Both players had about 16 or 17 minutes on the clock, only 30 seconds increment per every made move, and both of the kings are pretty vulnerable. Now what I really liked is how Levy started making decisions in this position. I was wondering, how does he plan to open up the a file and try to play a takes on b4, and this bishop g7 was accomplishing exactly that. So he was planning to bring the king to the safety, and then after a takes on b4, trying to open up the a file, because the rook on a8 is now protected. Now what happened in the game was knight b3, short castle, and here Chirilov played b takes on e5. Allowing Levy to fire up this amazing move b6, which probably is one of the finest moves Levy played so far in this tournament. So where's the idea? The idea is that after c takes on b6, there's simply queen c3. This is a check. The bishop on e3 is dropping. And if white plays a takes on b6, not rook takes on a4 collecting a queen, but again, knight b6. So the queen is hit, the white king is exposed. And again, after c takes on b6, queen c3, and now collect the white queen. Now what happened here is that after b6, Chirilov immediately blundered. He played bishop takes on h6, and now Levy had a chance to finish off the game. So he got 8 minutes and 40 seconds versus 7 minutes. The position was clearly critical, and I think he had to find a way to formulate that he could somehow try to exploit this weekend-long diagonal. So there could be an idea to play queen f4 check to win the rook, but the problem is the white queen on a4 guards the f4 square. So how do you improve the idea? Well, you play b takes on c5 with the idea to play c4, close the white queen's protection of the f4 square, and also hit the knight on b3. And that's it. Levy was winning. Now the point is, if white would continue to go for a counterattack with g5, here simple c4 wins the game, shutting off the queen, g takes on f6, queen f4 check, king b2, collect the rook, queen b7, c takes on b3, collect the pawn on f6, and black simply has an extra exchange and a technically winning position. Well, yeah, Levy unfortunately made a mistake. He played too quickly this knight takes on c5, and he had a pretty logical idea, because he was expecting knight c5, b takes on c5, and then play rook takes on a5. So this knight takes on c5 is a pretty logical move. Remove defender from the a5 square. Unfortunately, he simply missed queen d4. Not only white parried this threat, but also he came up with his own threats, bishop g7, g5, and pinned the knight on f6. Now the game suddenly became very wild, so Levy spent a lot of time. I mean, he basically spent here all of his time, 7 minutes, and he played e5. This was not a good time management here. e5, queen e2. Now white was threatening either queen g5 or bishop g7 and then queen g5. So here Levy already had to pick up a very difficult move. He had to play rook f to c8, which is basically impossible to find with only 1 minute on the clock. And the point is, after bishop g7, king g7, he would have to ignore the knight on f6 to play king f8. And now this computer line just quite doesn't make any sense, queen f6, knight b3, and play king b1. I don't know who even thinks like this. The point is after queen takes on c3, queen h6, king e8, bishop b5, king e7, this somehow is a perpetual check. I mean, good luck picking this up. I'm pretty sure that Kirillov would not find it and Levy would simply win the game. So what happened here is that Levy unfortunately decided to defend the king and play knight a6, which was a pretty logical move because he opened up the c file and also tried to protect the king. But unfortunately, it is losing because of the very precise bishop g7, knight g7, and super strong rook h6. So Kirillov started to find all the best moves in the time scramble. If the black knight goes away, white just plays bishop d3 and starts attacking the black king. So Levy felt he has to go for a crazy counterattack. There's nothing else to do. So he played b takes on a5, rook f6, and played a4, which is a good practical idea, but now came the decisive mistake. Had Levy continued to play rook b8, take over the a file, tried to play moves like rook fc8, play queen e7 and queen a3 and d4 and knight a6, who knows how this game would have still be finished. Obviously, white is technically winning, but black is attacking. It's a time scramble. Everything could happen. But unfortunately, Levy played his queen e7, super obvious move, already revealing his cards that he wants to play queen a3. And all white had to do is to find rook b6, cover the b file, and now rook b8 no longer is the same because black trades very important attacking pieces. Now Kirillov played knight c2, queen b7, threatening with a mate on b2, queen x on d5. White made sure that Levy has no attack, knight e6, bishop d3, and now it simply tactically fails. Here Kirillov found a very nice way to finish off the game with bishop h7, king h7, queen f7, followed by rook h1, checkmate on the board. Now after king f8, check here, black's position starts to fall apart because he cannot give up the knight on f4, and after knight e6, white is simply having too much extra material. So Levy had to resign. Yeah, it's a terrible start. Levy suffers second loss in a row in the New York round-robin tournament, and so far this is clearly the worst start. I mean, Spillenberger already was pretty tough in Italy, but 0 points out of 2 and 2 losses in a row. This is something that has never yet happened to Levy before. Still, this is not a tragedy. This is an important lesson. Levy was playing some pretty good chess, and his opponents at the critical moments were making the better choices. That's why the lesson here is for Levy to learn to have a better time management, do not get in a time scramble, keep a cool head, and obviously calculate a bit better. So we are going to work on these topics in the coming lessons, but obviously the tournament still continues because in just a couple of hours, as soon as I'm recording this video, there's going to be round 3. Levy's going to take on yet another grandmaster in the tournament, Mark Paragua from Philippines. So I hope that everybody is cheering for Levy, that he's going to find strength and play a very good game and gain some precious rating points. So the GM norm in this tournament already feels quite unlikely to happen. So for this, Levy would have to win 7 games in a row. Theoretically, it's possible, but I think right now Levy just needs to find a way to get a good game and find a win, possibility. Try to get a possibility to win the game. So that's it. Come watch action live, round 3 of the New York round robin tournament, and see you soon.